Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:07. It's O'Connor and Company this Thursday, the 30th day of October and the 30th day of your Chuck Schumer Democrat-led, instigated, and controlled government shutdown. Coming up in 30 minutes, Chairman of the RNC, Joe Gruters, is going to talk about the last-minute get-out-the-vote effort and investment in the Commonwealth. At 8:05, Katie McFarland on Trump's Asia trip. And at 8:35, the Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares. It's Larry O'Connor, alongside Cassie Smedile. And if you missed the first 2 hours, you must be made aware that Cassie is wearing one of the most, visually offensive sweaters I have ever seen.
It's escalating.
Okay,
I will have you know, the people on Twitter, the 4 people who have weighed in, are on my side. My sweater is bringing sunshine to the studio on a rainy day.
Not all of them. A friend of the program, Corey Inganamort, said that he's getting 1985 LPGA vibes from that sweater. And I don't believe that's a compliment.
I feel like that was a golden era for the LPGA. I'm not ready to concede that one.
It's very loud, but it is sweater weather, and we love sweater weather. That's the bottom line here. Is even a sweater that is loud and intrusive like this sweater is better than not being in sweater weather, because we're big fans of sweater weather here. So check that out. All right. Meantime, yes, your government shutdown continues, and yes, the pressure is on Democrats. And in fact, a poll came out yesterday, a Quinnipiac poll, by the way. Quinnipiac, hardly a right-wing bastion, hardly a MAGA shop over there at Quinnipiac. Republican popularity and approval rating over the course of the last 30 days during the shutdown has gone up.
Oh. Not
flat. Republicans' approval rating actually got more Americans approve of Republicans during the shutdown than before the shutdown. The Democrats have literally handed Republicans a political gift with this thing. Democrats' popularity has flatlined. It stayed the same pre-shutdown and here 30 days in. The key metrics here within the approval rating for Republicans, they've gone up 12 points with Republican voters because, honestly, even Republicans are like, yeah, they're not doing enough. I'm not happy with them. And with independents. Last I checked, independents kind of important when it comes to a midterm like we're going to have a year from now where Democrats think they're going to take back the House. Independents, they approve of Republicans by 9 more points than they did before the shutdown.
Interesting, because, of course, typically the party that controls the White House not only loses seats in the midterm, but when you have a shutdown situation, I mean, as we've been talking about for weeks, the media has been bending over backwards to either not cover the shutdown or when they do to confuse the American people and try and lead them to believe that Donald Trump or Speaker Johnson are the ones who can end the shutdown when, of course, we know it's Chuck Schumer in the Senate and you need Democrat senators to get to that 60-vote threshold that it takes to end the shutdown. And as it turns out, the American people are smarter than the Democrats and the legacy media would have you believe.
Well, the Republicans have had a very clear and easy message to understand, which is we want to keep the government open. We've put in a clean continuing resolution that has no strings attached, no trapdoors, no nothing. All it says is continue Joe Biden's funding of the government. Yeah. And we voted for it daily. They won't. By the way, CNN's data guy and poll guy, Jimmy Cagney, he laid out the details of this poll. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Oh, it's not Jimmy Cagney. His name's Harry Enton. He just does an impersonation of James Cagney doing a 1930s style gangster. But here's Harry Enton, cut 14.
You might think, given that the Republicans are in charge of both the House and the Senate, that a government shutdown might actually hurt the Republican brand. But in fact, it hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown.
And then he goes on to break it down. All right, so this pressure is mounting now on Chuck Schumer, and the cracks are showing. Here was Schumer yesterday losing it after being asked a question about SNAP and the fact that, they're complaining, oh, people are going to starve because of SNAP. And Republicans are like, yeah, that's what happens when you shut down the government. So here's Chuck Schumer asked about that and how Democrats are responsible for anybody not getting their food stamp benefits. Cut 15.
It is not, wait a minute, excuse me. It is not a dispute. It is fact they can use it, and the Republicans say it.
Okay, but there's, only 5 or 6 billion, and it's not cost $8 billion monthly just to administer. I mean, if anything, it would only last.
It does not cost $5 or $6 billion to administer. There's enough money to start feeding people right away. $6 billion's a lot of money, and they're using it for other things. $20 billion for Argentina, hundreds of millions for Kristi Noem's plane. Who are we kidding here? Yes.
What happens once it runs out? If it only lasts 2-3 weeks, do Democrats fold then?
The bottom line is they can fund it just as in 2019, just as in other shutdowns,
you hear him?
For a long period of time.
And they also, if the contingency fund, which is $6 billion, which gets you nearly a month, 3 weeks, runs out, then they can pass Senator Lujan or Senator Hawley's bill, both of which we support. We know that there'll be 60 votes for that. Why aren't they calling it up? They're not calling it up because the House isn't here to pass it. That's the way it works.
That's not why. That's Andy Klobuchar trying to save Chuck
Schumer
Schumer from the blistering attack. By the way, that's Andy Napier, who writes for the Daily Caller, asking the very smart and well-reasoned follow-ups on those questions. Here's what they're trying to do here. The American people are about to feel some pain because of the government shutdown. Schumer is now angry that the executive branch, the Trump administration, isn't, playing a shell game with money and moving things around to try to keep people from feeling the repercussions of the Democrats' operations and their obstinance in shutting down the government. So Republicans are saying, no, this is what happens when you don't fund the government. You don't fund the government, your programs don't get funded. So Schumer wants the government shut down, but he also wants to compel the Trump administration to move money from one program or another so that the American people don't feel any ramifications from shutting down the government. By the way, they're fine with the military going without pay. They're fine with air traffic controllers going without pay and law enforcement going without pay. They're fine with all of that, but the second food stamps get affected. Now they're angry that Trump isn't moving heaven and earth to make sure that people don't feel anything. And Republicans are saying, no. You're under the gun right now, and if people start to feel pain, they're going to be even angrier at you. So maybe you should just be a grown-up, come to the table, and do your freaking job.
And oh, by the way, we've got to do this again in a few weeks when this CR actually runs out if they were to open it. But never forget that this all started because Chuck Schumer was afraid of his own political shadow.
Yes.
This is all about the selfish Schumer shutdown of trying to skirt away from AOC, from the threat of her primarying him, or because he couldn't and didn't want to face the political peril of the left flank coming after him incessantly for voting for a continuing resolution, a clean continuing resolution that, as you pointed out, he has voted for before. This is the Biden-era CR. So this is what this all stems back to. He voted for it in March.
He voted for it 5 months ago.
And they came after him.
That's right. They being Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the Zohran Mamdani types. They are beholden now. They're not the Democrat Party. They're the Democrat Socialist Party. That's who controls things here. Things have gotten so bad that Senator Thune, the majority leader for the Republicans, he's a pretty cool customer. He's pretty even-keeled. Listen to him yesterday on the floor.
And we've tried to do that 13 times. And you voted no 13 times. This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all have just figured out, 29 days in, that, there might be some consequences. There are people who run out of money. Yeah, we're 29 days in. And they've done their best to make sure that a lot of these programs are funded. But at some point, the government runs out of money. 13 times people over here voted to fund SNAP. 13 times they voted to fund WIC. My aching back.
So, do you know Erin McGuire, who used to do comms for Thune?
I do. She and I were catching up yesterday, but yes.
She put that video out on X, and she said, I used to work with John Thune. I have never, ever, ever seen him raise his voice in any way, let alone express this kind of anger.
No, in fact, I messaged her and said, Dad's mad. Midwest Dad is mad when he says my aching back. We were joking about that. But he's right. And when you've riled up John Thune, who, such a statesman anyway, don't get me too excited about John Thune, but we call him Swoon Thune around the hill. But anyway, more to the serious issue at hand. When you've riled him up, but he's right. And these Democrats, Chuck Schumer and others, they live in such a bubble They are legends in their own minds. They've been career politicians. As Speaker Mike Johnson said, when Senator Schumer was elected to office, Mike Johnson was 9 years old, I think.
Yeah.
They've just been around forever, and they've lost touch.
You're right. I'll shed a little light on John Thune's anger there, and I think what pushed him over the edge, and he has right to be angry, and I think we could use a little more fire from Senator Thune now and again. I think it's effective. We'll get into that and more about the disposition of these SNAP benefits and what the Senate did do yesterday in a moment. First, though, it's 7:17.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
September 21st, the House of Representatives passed a clean, continuing resolution to keep the government funded through November 21st, knowing that there was still going to be some negotiations involved in getting the regular order appropriations done. The Senate then dutifully went and voted on that, and Democrats blocked it with a filibuster. And since then, since September 30th at midnight, we have had a government shutdown. And 14 times now, John Thune has called the Senate back into the chambers to vote on that same continuing resolution that would fund the government through November 21st. And every single time, Democrats have blocked it. Chuck Schumer has compelled those Democrats to block it and keep the government unfunded. Fast forward to this week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. John Thune, the majority leader who has tried to keep the government funded, tried to get Democrats to see reason and fund this government. John Thune watches a news cycle, Cassie Smedile, that have those very same Democrats who refuse to fund the government standing in front of cameras or sitting on sets on Sunday shows or on cable news panel shows saying that Republicans are starving American children because SNAP benefits are about to dry up. By the way, set aside the fact that the SNAP benefits should have dried up several weeks ago and only were kept afloat. This isn't getting any news coverage. SNAP benefits were funded for the last few weeks because the Trump administration had money from tariffs, the same tariffs that Democrats oppose. And it was the money from those tariffs that were not part of the budget and were not, anticipated, that the Trump administration were able to utilize to fund SNAP up until now. So so they've already done what they could. And now John Thune has to endure Chuck Schumer, of all people, and these Democrats saying that he is starving children because there's no money for SNAP. That's why he lost it. And good, he should lose it. He needs to understand what time it is. As nice and swoony and handsome and demure as he is, and I like politicians who act like gentlemen. But I also like it when they know when it's time to stop acting like gentlemen. And it's time. That's what time it is. It's past time.
No, that's absolutely right. And you're right. They should put that on a billboard. I actually didn't know that it was because of the tariffs that they were able to fund it until now. And that's something to note, that this is truly the Democrats doing this to moms and children in America. On purpose. They say it every time you ask them, why are you doing this? Well, it's our only leverage. It's literally,
our only
quote,
leverage.
unquote. They say it out
and
loud.
They think it's working. They do. But the polls don't show it. Meanwhile, speaking of tariffs, what did the Senate come together and vote on yesterday? Trying to block Trump and his tariffs. And, they got enough Democrats to join them. Tom Tillis, Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins voted with Democrats to block tariffs against Brazil and also to block tariffs against Canada. The Canadian vote only had Rand Paul and Lisa Murkowski and Mitch McConnell and Susan Collins, so it was a 50-46 vote. But there you go. They got something done. Meanwhile, listen to this. I do love social media giving voice to people who are voiceless, and that includes people who are trying to push back on the narrative about SNAP benefits and how vital they are. 43 million Americans are on it. That's the scandal, by the way. A two-pronged scandal. Number one, that they have built these programs up to such a point without any stigma and without any strings attached and without any judgment that 43 million Americans utilize this to supplement their food budget, which I bet you any money they all have cable TV or satellite, and they all have cell phones, and they all have other things that they're spending money on, and they're able to spend money on all those other things because the government is paying for the food on their table, number one. Number two, the other scandal is that 59% of those recipients are non-citizens to this country, so we are putting out a giant carrot, literally, a chocolate-covered carrot, for people from other countries to come here without anything in their pockets, knowing that they're going to be supported by the U.S. taxpayers. Listen to this woman on TikTok going off on the SNAP program, Cut 17.
You know how many people I've seen sell food stamps to get their hair done, nails done, their toes done, buy an outfit to go to the club, drugs? A lot. If I've seen it, other people seen it. You know what? That's why people don't give two I've seen people, women, get a new man. The man got the food stamp. Now, the food stamp is for her and her kids. The man has the food stamp card and he in the grocery store buying that he wants. People see that You know what? They don't give two You know, some kids go to school and get breakfast and lunch, no dinner, because mama and I sold the food stamps for that she wanted. Don't people? People don't give two And people are saying, well, what about my kids? Well, yeah, what about your kids when you have the food stamps you out there selling?
I love how real social media can be sometimes. See, she won't be invited on CNN to explain the food stamp. Although, I don't know if you've noticed, when CNN or MSNBC or whoever brings, a woman on the street to talk about how horrible it is that her family is not going to be able to eat because of SNAP, have you noticed a trend here? They're all about 350 pounds. Is it me?
Larry. Oh, Larry.
I'm not fat shaming them. I'm just saying maybe they should find somebody who looks emaciated to talk about SNAP instead of someone who looks like they could, go for a month maybe without. They can just live off their own body fat or something. I'm just saying
something, but
it's terrible.
I will tell you. Okay.
You don't need to comment on that.
Okay.
I'm dragging you.
Yeah, find a better, booking producer, Larry. But not everybody gets Heather. But anyway, but it's one or the other. What she's talking about, and it's why people don't have sympathy where we still have beating hearts.
Of course,
but you see people take
we
advantage of the program. They know it better than the rest of us do. Yes, or I will never forget a conversation I had with a man who owns a business. We were sitting next to each other on a train, and he said, I've got really good, hardworking employees. I want to give them a raise, but they tell me, don't give me a raise because then I won't qualify for my federal benefits or my subsidies. That's right. And therefore, I'm actually getting a pay cut.
That's right.
So that kind of donut hole of how do you jump that so that people don't say, well, no, my household income because of all of my subsidies is too much for you to pay me outright in a salary or in an hourly wage. That's a problem too.
It's almost like the people who are Democrat socialists who want these big government infrastructures for people. They're not doing it just for the needy and the poor and the people who are slipping through the cracks. They're doing it to get people addicted and hooked on them, where they would rather have the government program than actually make more money in the free market. It's almost like that. 7:25. Coming up, we're on the horizon here of the election in Virginia, and I know a lot of people want a final investment and push from the Republican National Committee. Well, we'll speak with the chairman, Joe Gruters, next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:37, O'Connor and Company, this Thursday, 30th day of October. Coming up at 8:05, we'll speak with KT McFarland and get her analysis on Trump's visit to Asia. And then at 8:35, the Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares, with his final pitch for votes. Larry O'Connor with Cassie Smedile here. An RNC veteran, I might add, considering the chairman is joining us now. Thank you, Cassie, for being here.
Glad to be here, but now I'm getting all stressed that you've got the chairman coming on.
That's all right. He's a good guy. Joe Gruters, RNC chairman, joins us now to talk about that Virginia election. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for joining us.
Morning. Thanks so much for having me on.
Listen, you're talking to an electorate right now throughout this entire area who's sick and tired of seeing every single Abigail Spanberger ad during our football games, during the morning news. They seem to have so much money for these ads, and of course the lies in the ads are frustrating and horrible. What they're saying about Abigail Spanberger. I know we just got a huge push from the Republican Governors Association, $4 million of money coming in, ostensibly for ad buys. How does the RNC fit into these final days and the strategies here? What are you guys doing to try to win this one for Winsome Sears?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been working with the RGA, but we've been on the ground there for 7 months with our election integrity team and our grassroots team to try to encourage people to show up and get out the vote. And we're spending a couple $100,000 just in the last week here directly ourselves to try to turn out vote. I mean, that's the number one thing for Winsome Sears and all of our candidates in Virginia is our, the Republicans need to show up, and they need to show up in big numbers if we're going to have any chance here.
What are you seeing in the early vote numbers? Obviously, the Jay Jones texting scandal, I think, I'm a Fairfax County resident, has gotten people talking and gotten people moving in a way that they weren't later, at the end of the summer. What are you seeing in the early vote numbers and as we head into these final days?
Well, the one interesting point is you guys start early voting so early. The Democrats were stacking votes from the very beginning, and that Jay Jones incident has helped the entire ticket close the gap. And listen, what Jay Jones did and said was disgusting. It's disqualifying, and the fact that Spanberger and others have doubled down their support for Jay Jones rather than asking him to resign or to drop him from the ticket shows you the state of the Democratic Party right now, and the fact that they're willing to bring him in and not condemn it. And so for me, it's yes, there's no question that it's helped the ticket overall. The question is what all these races come down to, like I said earlier, is we have to make sure we have a strong turnout at the end. That's what we've been focused on. That's what we're investing in right now, and that's what we, everybody needs to get out there and go vote.
President Trump in 2024 got a little over 2 million votes in the Commonwealth. That worked out to about 46% of the total vote. My suspicion is that if Winsome Sears can turn out 2 million votes, she wins this election. How do you harness that phenomenon where people want to go out and vote in the presidential election and they want to vote for Trump, but then for governor they just sort of don't get quite as motivated? What can you do to turn those Trump voters out? They're already supporting Sears, I'm sure, as the Republican candidate, but they just don't go vote.
And that's the $1 million challenge that we have. Is how do we motivate people and give them the motivation to get out there and vote for the entire Republican ticket? There are a lot of, and I think the president has even more support today than he did on Election Day because the fact that he's pushed such a robust, agenda and he's accomplished so much in the first 250 days. And all I have to say is, listen, Winsome Sears has closed that gap. She has been out there campaigning hard, and we have to just close strong.
By the way, Cassie, before I throw it to you, I just want to put it in perspective. Trump in 24 got 2 million votes in Virginia, a little over. Glenn Youngkin won the governor's seat 4 years ago with 1.6 million votes. So that's, it's a no-brainer. If you voted for Trump last year, vote for Winsome Sears this year. It's that simple.
And as they say in Virginia, keep a good thing going. And in our broader country, keep a good thing going with President Trump, who I know gave an endorsement, as we're calling it, with Winsome Sears when he was aboard Air Force One a week or so ago. He's been out there. He did the town hall for Chitterelli. Should we expect to see any more of President Trump in these closing days?
Well, the good news is you're going to get me on Sunday. And Sunday and Monday, I believe I'll be there campaigning in Virginia again. And there's going to be some others that hopefully come out there this weekend and before Tuesday because, listen, the team, and when I say the team, all of us want Winsome Sears to be successful. We want her to continue the good policies that Glenn Youngkin has led with over the last 4 years, and she was right there with them. And so we're hoping that we can convince the Virginians out there that listen, here's do you really want to go back to a candidate in Spanberger who refuses to continue the policies that Youngkin put in place in terms of lower taxes and everything else? Sears is a good candidate. She's out there working hard on a daily basis. I'm going to be there this weekend. Others will be there this weekend. And so we're going to close strong.
Chairman of the RNC, Joe Gruters, will you be doing the YMCA dance while you're out there?
As long as people want me to do it, I'll do it.
All right. Good to know. We'll take a small internal poll here and then determine whether that's where we're going to head. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, guys. All right.
It is
bye-bye.
7:43. Yeah. So it's rare that I'm flummoxed and confused and can't make sense of a story that we report to you, but put me in that camp now as I reveal the dictionary.com word of the year. The word is 6-7, but not 67, not 6 and 7, and not. By the way, these are already words. Why is this a new word? The word 6. Okay, so apparently this is a kids' slang thing. Even your little kids know about 6-7.
Well, my niece and nephew, my book club taught me about this a couple of weeks ago. Thank goodness my kids are too young for it. But this is all the rage. You go. So, Larry, if you say it's 67 degrees on WMAL doing the weather, my response to you should go 6-7.
Yeah, and you do a thing with your hands, like you're weighing one or the other.
That.
Yeah, here, take a listen. These are kids yelling it at a basketball game. Yeah, okay. These kids are annoying me. I heard about this earlier in the show. We knew we were going to do this, so I did, my usual research on a topic. This has even made it to South Park. The characters on South Park have done the whole 6-7 thing. All right, it's stupid, nonsensical, and of course the headline, you won't believe Dictionary.com's word of the year, but your kids will. Apparently this is to appeal to children, so they get excited about words, whatever. I see this as a good sign. Hear me out. Mm-hmm. If it were 8 years ago and Trump had just won the presidency, the word would have been resist, or dumpster fire.
Wait, what was
or
it?
Something like that, because that's what they did in 16, 17, 18, all through the Trump era. The Dictionary.com word of the year was highly politicized, right? You remember that?
Oh, for Dictionary.com, it was complicit.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go.
There, yes, complicit.
Yeah.
Because it was all the women who wear the pink hats and marched in the streets were the ones who were running this thing. And I feel like the fact that this year they eschewed politics, they eschewed making a statement about Trump, and they decided to go with something stupid and nonsensical is actually a move in the right direction.
I'll take it. And for fun, 2018 was misinformation. So I think you're onto something here.
There you go. See. So this is I think they understand what time it is, and they should just move away from that. I could be wrong. I don't know. 6-7. 7:54.